Hallo, Hallöchen und herzlich willkommen zu einem klitzekleinen neuen Projekt auf meinem Kanal. Freunde, es wird hier ein Urlaubsprojekt, deswegen beschwert euch nicht, wenn ich nicht auf eure Kommentare eingehen kann. Ich spiele zum ersten Mal in meinem Leben, ich weiß, das ist verrückt, dieses Spiel ist ja irgendwie durch alle Medien gegangen und alle Menschen haben gesagt, wow, Stanley Parable, das muss gemacht werden. Jetzt kam die Ultra Deluxe und jetzt habe ich mir gedacht, okay, irgendwann hat jeder mal sein erstes Mal. Und das hier ist meins. Und ich freue mich irgendwie drauf, das mit euch jetzt hier schön als kleines, gemütliches Let's Play erleben zu können. Bei mir ist jetzt gerade Freitagabend. Und ja, ne, Entspannung am Wochenende ist für mich generell Videospiele spielen. Das machen wir zusammen, ne? Den Kram genießen wir jetzt. Okay, ich würde sagen, wir beginnen, das mache ich nochmal kurz, die Maus ein bisschen empfindlicher. Ja, okay, cool. Ich freue mich drauf, weil es soll halt cool sein und ich hoffe, es ist auch cool für Menschen, die das Spiel schon kennen. Oder es ist cool für Menschen, die das Spiel schon kennen, zu sehen, was ich erlebe. So, Kinders, wir beginnen.
This is
Zum
the
Überspringen will
story
ich
of a
nicht.
man named Stanley.
Hi, Stanley.
Stanley worked
Bin
for a
ich
company
Stanley?
in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Okay.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every
Was
day,
ist das für ein blöder Job?
every month of every year.
Was soll denn das bitte sein?
Might have considered it soul-rending. Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in.
Okay.
We have been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Aber so happy sah der jetzt nicht aus.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Okay.
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation.
Corona.
Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, ich habe die Control über Stanley. Oh, das ist mir ein bisschen zu viel Maus-Sensitivity. Ja, so ist gut. So ist gut. Oh, es hat diesen Slide, ne? Das ist irgendwie Half-Life-Engine oder sowas kann das sein? Die...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I love Mondays. Wer hat denn so eine Tasse? Welcher
No matter how
Geisteskranke?
hard Stanley looked,
Oh,
he couldn't find a trace
wer
of
hat
his
gefurzt?
co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oh, ich habe den Computer aus Versehen ausgemacht. Ich möchte gerne meinen Hintern kopieren, geht es? I like work. I just hate my boss. Okay, cool. Eine Smile-Tasse. Es hat nichts geändert. Er hatte vollkommen recht. Oh, wunderschöne Berge. Es sieht so aus wie ein Chagall. Also wenn, dann sparen wir jetzt auch mal ein bisschen Energie, oder? Surname Access. Mal aus. Ich weiß nicht, ob es hier Geheimnisse zu entdecken gibt. Ich werde alles angrapschen. Ich habe nicht mal einen Cursor. How the was? How the mighty have fallen steht da. Kann man irgendwie zoomen? Nee. Okay. I hate Mondays. Das ist schon eine bessere Tasse. Keiner da. Hallo?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Er ging ging er wirklich durch die Tür zu seiner Linken oder durch die... Soll ich durch die rechte Tür gehen? Ich gehe durch die
This was
rechte.
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay, ich habe einfach mal jetzt ein bisschen rebelliert. Hallo?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring.
Ja.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Saugte in sich auf. Es ist schon ein schöner Raum. Ne? Also,
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
ja, oder? Der Boden ist halt auch schön teppichmäßig.
But eager to get back to business,
Ah,
Stanley took
Mann.
the first open door on his left.
Hat Stanley das wirklich gemacht? Das ist jetzt die große Frage. Oder ist er einfach geradeaus... Vielleicht gehe ich auch einfach geradeaus durch. Hallo?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Kinder, nicht lügen. Wenn du lügst, dann höre jetzt damit auf. Leute, es sieht ein bisschen aus wie bei The Pedestrian, oder wie heißt das Spiel? Äh, 1000, 5000. Penalty for jumping. Do not jump from the cargo lift while it's in motion. Will cause death. Guck mal da unten, da ist doch Licht an dem Auto.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay. Hm. Das ist irgendwie voll der dunkle Raum. Wow, okay.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh Gott, ist das hell. Er ist da, hallo? Hallo, Stanley ist hier. Hallo?
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
Ja.
Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Oh Gott, Alter.
Gotcha.
Ja.
Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
Oh, toll,
I wanna commit
danke.
my life to you. I'm
Ja.
trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Muss ich reingehen?
Sorry,
Ah.
you're in my story now.
Okay, jetzt irgendwie wirkt er nicht mehr so nett. Hallo?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Was? Guten Morgen, Mitarbeiter. Drücke Q auf deiner Tastatur. Aber ich will nicht. Ich will nicht die Geschichte von meinem eigenen Tod hören, weil noch lebe ich. Hallo? Okay, ich
Stanley is
drücke.
quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Ich drücke G. H. Z. T. R. Geht nicht.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Na, ich weiß nicht, will ich denn Fernsehen? Okay.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Okay. Bitte drücke I und die Zeit mit den Jungs verbringen.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Ich weiß ja nicht, aber wenn ich jetzt... also, der nimmt mir ja immer... was ist, wenn ich nichts drücke? Uhr tickt. Wir machen gar nichts. Ich bewege nichts. Na, irgendwie passiert nichts. Okay, ich drücke jetzt.
As he wandered through this fantasy
Oh
world,
Mann!
he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
Es verwandelt sich
Down
hier immer
one
mehr in
path lay
Arbeit.
an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Bitte drücke C, um deinen Kindern eine Geschichte zu erzählen.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Drücke V, um deiner Frau zu sagen, dass du sie liebst.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Okay.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Okay, das krieg ich hin. So, nö, mach ich nicht. Nee. Er hat gesagt, ich soll's nicht machen. Aber Moment, wenn er sagt, ich soll's nicht machen, dann höre ich ja wieder auf ihn, wenn ich's nicht mache. Also muss ich's eigentlich machen, um nicht zu machen, was er will, dass ich mache. Oder? Ja. Ich weiß es nicht. Soll ich's machen oder mache ich's nicht?
You see?
Ich hab's gemacht.
Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ne, vielleicht einen Spiegel vorhalten. Drücke B, um nichts zu hinterfragen. Und was soll ich sonst drücken? Geht ja nichts anderes. Ich drücke alle Tasten, aber... Okay, ich drücke B.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see.
Okay.
Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Bin ich tot? Hallo? Hallo?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Was ist
Stanley
los?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Okay. Echt, das ist schon ein bisschen verwirrend jetzt. Soll ich das jetzt einfach alles nochmal machen?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, vielleicht gehe ich diesmal wirklich zur Linken.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Vielleicht finde ich hier eine Antwort. Hallo? Okay, Telefon. Graph about things and money. Quarterly. We need was? Want to get rid of the Deathboard portion. Oft steht ja hier irgendwie so was drauf, was man vielleicht gebrauchen kann. In der Ideeneimer. Slides. Charts und Slides. Okay. Was ist das hier für ein Geräusch? Ach, das ist der Projektor, oder was? Oh, guck mal hier.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Wenn er das so sagt, dann ist hier doch vielleicht irgendwas. Hüpfen kann ich nicht, ne? Nee.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Vielleicht doch. Vielleicht gibt's einen Grund. Das Spiel macht mich jetzt schon wahnsinnig.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet.
Ja, vielleicht ist hier
He wasn't
irgendwas.
even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Eierschaukeln. Nennt man das im deutschen
Coming to a
Handwerksjargon.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Nee, ich geh runter. Hier hat jemand geschlafen, oder? Da liegt doch was. Kann ich mich ducken? Ich kann's halt nicht lesen. Hi, was? Nee, das ist zu klein. Das kann ich nicht lesen.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Ja,
All
vielleicht.
of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any
Vielleicht
logical
waren da
sense.
nie
And
irgendwelche
as Stanley
Kollegen.
pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Ja,
Why
warum?
did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Ja, warum?
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh Gott.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Ja, warum ist das so?
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Okay, das wird
And while
echt
he thought
crazy.
it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself.
Das ist wohl nicht für die Auflösung gemacht, die ich benutze, oder?
I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please.
Ja.
It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Oh nein. Ich bin immer noch hier.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Hä?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk.
Na toll.
And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy.
Ja.
This much she knew.
Okay.
Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better.
Warum, weil er tot
Then
war?
she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Na toll. Okay, Leute. Ich muss leider, das ist ein Let's Play, deswegen muss ich, das ist ein Urlaubsding, deswegen muss ich mich zwischen 20 und 25 Minuten aufhalten. Okay, das ist krass, das verwirrt mich extrem. Ich spiele jetzt gleich weiter, für euch geht's morgen weiter. Ich bedanke mich an dieser Stelle wie immer recht herzlich fürs Zusehen. Ich wünsche euch allen da draußen einen wunderschönen und erfolgreichen Tag und wir sehen uns, wenn ihr Lust habt, in der nächsten Episode wieder. Macht's gut, bis dahin, auf Wiedersehen, reingehauen und ciao mit Au.